are you today? My name is Shannon and this is my YouTube channel, Whiskey and Wool. This is my Knitter's Life series, season 5, episode 7. And yeah, welcome. I'm so glad you're here to hang out with me. In this series, Knitter's Life, I talk to you about my knitting and spinning projects, and I also share a little bit about what has been going on with me. Interspersed throughout the channel content pretty much, although I am doing a kitchen reno soon, hasn't started yet. I will look very frazzled once it starts, I think. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later. Let's get into the finished objects. I have finished a pair of socks that I was working on. I think last time I showed this to you 3 weeks ago, I had one sock almost done, so I've now finished both. This is a hybrid between the DRK Everyday Sock and Bear Paw by Andrea Mowry. They're both by Andrea Mowry. Both those patterns, you work in a 2x2 rib stitch, and you do this fleagle heel. It's a toe up. And this is Self-Striping Yarn by Mustache Yarn Co. in the colorway Kama, and it's their Everyday DK. The yarn is provided in a two separate skein put up. Oh my goodness. I thought I disabled that. I guess not. I think putting fingers up makes balloons. Two skein. I don't know what made them. Hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, yeah, you get two, here's what's left of one of them, two perfectly matched skeins that then allow you to make two perfectly matched socks if you, in self-striping, if you start from the same end in the skein. Yeah, this had a pretty long repeat. The repeat starts here at the green on the toe and goes up to here. So I was able to, these are women's size 8 shoe, or like a 39, I guess, in EU sizes. So yeah, I make this sock pattern all the time. This is my go-to sock pattern. So long-time viewers are probably sick of hearing about it. I do have plans to try some different socks. I hope to get to that this year. These are still a little damp, so I'm gonna put them back on their drying surface. But yeah, I was glad to get those done, and that is all I have finished. I'm gonna talk about my other whips. Have I done 2? No, I've done 1. So I did do a cast on with me last week, so I have an update on that. But first, let's talk about what Martha's wearing. Martha is my mannequin. She's pretty much my size. I talked about this in my cast on with me. I have lost some weight, so it's been a struggle to keep Martha up, have her keep pace with me. I'm really struggling with bras because my bra size has changed probably 3 times, and I have one bra that fits me. So it's a nice problem to have. I'm happy to have it. Not complaining at all, but keeping her the same size has been a little challenging. I think I just redid her fitting and double checked, and I think this is my size. But this garment is not finished. This is, I still have to do the sleeves and finish out the neckline. This will be a 3-button front, Hindley style. Oh wait, let me fix the camera so you can see the top of Martha. There you go. So yeah, it'll be a 3-button. There's a rib knit placket that'll go in here. Of course, this isn't blocked, so once it's blocked, the fabric will relax and will not be quite so, there'll be some positive ease. There is some positive ease in there right now, actually. But it's looking like it's fitting pretty bang on. And it has a high armhole for a nice fitted set-in sleeve. So I'll be working on that, and then there'll be like a little 1x1 rib collar. Did I say what the pattern is? This is Rye Layering Tee by me. It's a pattern that I designed in 2020 and have knit 4 times. I've knit 2 sleeveless versions and 2 long sleeve versions. No, 5 times. I did 3 long sleeve versions. The long sleeve versions that I had before, that I had from when I designed the pattern, succumbed to a moth infestation that I had at my previous house. That was like 4 years ago. I don't have moths anymore, but they got into my sweaters where I lived before, and it was a real disaster. So it's been like 4 years, like I said, since then. So this is the first time I've been making this pattern again, because I've been finding myself like this pattern is based on a J. Crew long sleeved rib knit t-shirt rib knit wool t-shirt pattern, or t-shirt that I have had, or sweater layering piece that I've had for many, many, many years. It did not succumb to the moth infestation, probably because I wear it a lot. And I had wanted to buy new ones, and I thought maybe I'll just design a pattern. So that's what this is based on. The pattern is designed so that you can do any rib knit that you want. You don't have to do any particular rib knit. I've done it with a plain 2x2 rib. I've done it with a 1x1 rib. Some other folks have knit it just in stockinette. That works too. So you could really do any rib stitch pattern you want. It's designed for sport weight yarn, because that's what I had at the time. Oops, wrong knit bag. And I am using, in this current version, some handspun that I made from Yarn Jam's Glacier Bay, I think is the name of it. Some fiber. It's a Shaniko, 100% Shaniko, which is a U.S. Merino Rambouillet blend. Glacier Lake is the name of the color. And it was this pretty solid it has some tonality in it, but it's mostly a solid fiber in this really beautiful bright turquoise color, which is not showing up as bright on screen as it is in life. But I am absolutely loving how this came out. One thing about this pattern, because you are knitting it to be worn more like a t-shirt, it's a little bit longer, and it also has a very high set-in sleeve. Your side seam measurement for most of the sizes is somewhere around 16 to 18 inches, just depending on which size you're making and what your own personal preference. Because the idea is that you're wearing it a little bit longer because of this sort of slim fit that it has. And I think I wrote the pattern. Of course, you can do whatever you like for your own knit, but I believe I wrote the pattern so that it's worn, with 1 to 2 positive to negative ease, depending on whatever fit you want. So if you wanted a more fitted, you would do a slimmer fit. The size range is from 32 inches up to 64 inches. And again, you choose your own adventure with the rib, and with the rib stitch, or with the stitch. In this particular case, I actually had to make a modification to my own pattern. In this case, I was inspired by a rib stitch that I saw on someone else's pattern. And it is a 2x2 rib stitch where you do 10 rows of 2x2, then followed by 2 rows of stockinette, and then you do 5 rows of 2x2 but offset, and just do that all the way through the pattern. So this is actually my swatch, so you can kind of get an idea there. I did broken rib at first, just to see if I like that, and I decided that I like the 2x2 rib offset every so often. I have been very much enjoying doing Italian sewn bind off or Italian tubular bind off, where you only use one needle to do that, and you use a tapestry needle to do that type of bind off. I really, really like it. I'm going to just move the camera back down again. So I struggled to find 2x2 Italian sewn bind off instructions where it didn't have you rearrange the ribbing so that you move over one knit stitch and one purl, so it ends up being 1 by 1. I really didn't want that look. I wanted it to look like it just, it just ended. The rib stitches just end. And I really didn't want a tubular finish either, because that makes kind of a little poof, which I just think looks great on like a 1 by 1 rib band finish. But I didn't want that on this garment. So I'll actually do a little filming close up so you can see this, so I don't have to spend time right now taking the sweater off of Martha to show you up close. But I really freaking love the way it came out. And I ended up using a YouTube video from Suzanne Bryan on YouTube. I'll try to link her in the description box if you're interested in seeing that. And even watching her video without watching it over and over the entire couple hours it took me to bind off the stitches here, I ended up making like this illustrated instruction set to do 2x2 Italian sewn bind off. And I will now, when I'm done with this sweater, I'm gonna photograph this so that I can store it in my phone, and then I can have these instructions with me anywhere. So I gave myself, it's not just these, there's also some steps on the other side. Probably what I should have done in hindsight is done the setup rounds on one side and then all the other rows. I just didn't know how many steps it was going to end up being when I first started to illustrate them, because I was literally like drawing a picture, playing for a second, watching the next step, pausing, drawing out the steps, etc., all the way through. Because she doesn't ever say, here are the steps, here's step 1. She just shows you how to do it. And in that video where I learned the steps of this, she has 3 versions of how to do this. And one is where you do move the stitches over so that you do have the 1 by 1 by 1. And like another one is where you're doing the tubular, where you're doing a couple rows of stockinette stitch and then you're binding off. So that also gives you a different look that I didn't want on this garment. So that was fun. That took me pretty much all day yesterday. Luckily, since it's Easter weekend, I'm having a long weekend off from work, so I've been able to spend a little more time. And when I'm done filming and editing, I'm going to be starting the sleeves on this. So I'm really pleased with how it's turning out so far, and I can't wait to get it done. I really hope I have it done by Maryland Sheep and Wool, because that is coming up in 2 weeks. I think I should have it done because it would be really great to, I believe I'll be seeing Yarn Jam at Yarn Centric from 2 to 4, where we have tickets for 2 to 4 o'clock on Friday. So I think it would be really fun to wear this so the dyer can see her fiber spun and knit into a garment, which is gotta be fun for them, right? But plus it's just going to be such a versatile piece. It's great. This is a good transitional piece for this time of year. Earlier today I did some switching around of my sweaters in my closet, where I put away the bulkier knits and put out my lighter weight short sleeve knits so that I can start wearing those in this transitional season that we're having right now, oh, I forgot to tell you what I'm wearing, so forgive me as I backtrack in the middle of my finished objects. I'm wearing Point Popover by, I'm probably going to butcher her name. I believe it's Ainur Berkimbayeva. Hold on, I'm going to look real quick. Ainur Berkimbayeva. Yeah, this had been on my list of sweaters. I knit this in 2021 or 2022, something like that, when the pattern first came out. And this is all hand spun in a rainbow, using a rainbow fiber mixed with a navy blue fiber. And yeah, I have like a pretty hefty size ball left. It's worsted weight, so I think it was a 4-ply if I'm not mistaken, which I don't make 4-plies very often. Anyway, this was on my list of, I had a couple sweaters that I wanted to lengthen, and this was one that I was planning to lengthen, but now that I've lost weight, I think it's fine. Put it on today and I was like, oh, it's kind of fine. I do have the skein pulled out so that I could lengthen it if I want. I don't know. We'll see. See how it is. Today in northern New Jersey, where I'm living and working, it is kind of chilly out. It's a gorgeous sunny day, but it is very windy and cold. Whereas yesterday it got up to 80 degrees. That was just a weird anomaly. It looks like this week is going to be in the 50s pretty much for us. 50-degree Fahrenheit. Typical for April spring weather. So anyway, okay, moving on to my whips. I'm going to just talk about this briefly because I've been talking about it for quite some time. It's been on my needles since February, I think. This is the Gossamer shawl by Stephen West. Stephen West. And I am knitting mine using stash yarn that is brushed cashmere or Surrey silk. It's designed for mohair, and you hold 2 strands together throughout the shawl, and you create this sort of gradient pattern. I think since last time you saw it, I've gotten maybe 3 rounds or 3 different stripes, and I'm on the last bubble stripe section where you make the biggest bubbles. I did do a modification, which you can probably see. You may not know unless you've made it yourself. You're meant to do, these are 8 rows. These ones down here I think are 6. The little tiny ones down at the bottom or at the top rather. I have it upside down. And these are meant to be 10 rounds. And I decided to do only 8 because I really want to make this smaller. I've been wanting to make it smaller than it is meant to be, just so that I'm more likely to wear it. I'm not even sure I'm going to keep it. I think I've said that every single time I show it. I'm not sure it's my colors. I don't know. Knowing me, I'll wear it a few times and then give it away to someone, to whoever tells me they love it in my life. Anyway, yeah, it's an enjoyable knit. It's pretty mindless. There's a row where you do this tuck stitch. But otherwise, you're just doing stockinette, back and forth, knit pearls, with an I-cord on the edge for now. And then there's a border that's coming up when I'm done with this section. So I'm on my second stripe in this section, and there's 8 total. So when I'm done with the 8, I will be doing the border, which I think is about that long. So I mean, from the center, you can see it's really not all that wide yet. And it looks like to me it's going to grow another 10 inches. out each side, and then however much the border gives us. But it's already over 400 stitches, so these are really long rows now. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to go through the yarns because for brevity's sake, they'll be down in the description box, so you can take a look down there if you're curious about the yarns and colors. It's a mixture of different brands and types of yarn, and so far I'm still on my first skein of each, although I'm getting close to needing the second skein because the pattern said that gave us the yardage, and with the yardage that it said I needed 2 skeins of each of mine, and I don't think I'm going to use up all of the second skein, although who knows, because it keeps growing. Like every row you knit, every right side row you're increasing, so, and then I guess at some point there'll be a big increase for the border at some point coming up. Just drinking a little water. All right, moving on. This is the sweater that I showed on Cast On With Me, so this has been really fun to be working on, because again I'm using handspun. So this is the Mizzoni by Lindsay Deegan, the Mizzoni sweater based on the Mizzoni design house. They do a lot of chevron patterns with a texture, vertical textures, like the way this stitch is. They don't do any hand knits though that I can remember. Maybe a handful in the very highest end. So yeah, this is really cool. I've always loved Mizzoni Fashion House from my fashion days when I'm a former knitwear designer. I quit the industry in the late 90s, mid 90s. Yeah, mid 90s. Right after my second son was born, or not long after he was born. But yeah, this has been pretty fun to do. I'm using a handspun, as I said, that is self-striping. The pattern is actually designed so that you use scraps. So it's a scrappy pattern, and I said in the Cast On With Me, you can watch it if you want to learn more. I was inspired by Millie of Tribe Yarns, by her beautiful interpretation of this sweater. So I have about, I think, a little over 6 inches right now. It's a bottom up, and you knit in pieces. So this is either the front or back. I don't know. I can't remember which. I think that's the front. I think we start with the front. And it's just got a crew neck top. But it's sure been fun just watching how that yarn wants to stripe. And I have 3 skeins of this, so I think it'll be more or less like 1 skein for the front, 1 skein for the back, and then 1 skein for the 2 sleeves. That should be the way it works out. Like, that's the old adage for how much yarn you need. The sleeves always take about 30% of whatever you're using in the front and back. Oh, I will say, this is bigger than I intended. I want to say it's measuring right now, of course it's unblocked, it's measuring about 23 inches just for one side, which means I'll have a 46-inch finish. It's just bigger than I thought. And I looked at the pattern and it looked like, you have to take out 1 full repeat if you want to go down a size. So each size is differentiated by, this 1 full chevron. So it would be quite a lot that would come out. Yeah, so it seems like it would either be just maybe 2 inches of positive ease, or I end up with like 8 or 7 inches of positive ease, just depending on where it lands. But of course, blocked, it might end up being a little narrower, who knows. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, this has been fun. It's a pretty simple stitch too. You're doing your reverse side is your rest side where you're just purling everything, and then you're doing all of the stitches, and it's just a series of yarn overs and SSK K2 together kind of thing that you end up doing. So yeah, looking forward to having this. I think this will also be a really nice transitional knit. Oh, and I was thinking too, I wouldn't mind if this ends up being short sleeve, just because I think it would be fine if I end up short yarn. Yeah, I think that would be totally fine. Okay, that is all my whips. I'm like dying to cast on a couple other things. I'm excited about a couple other sweaters. All right, but we're not going to talk about those. I'll talk about those some other time. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about spinning. I have been spinning. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I try to spin every single morning. There's been a couple mornings in the past several weeks where I just haven't made it to the spinning wheel for one reason or another. Either I have to get to work for a meeting or it just doesn't work out. But generally speaking, that's my wake up time. Okay. Sorry about that. There was a little pause because I got one son calling me and then another son calling me right after that. So I think I was talking about spinning. I just wanted to share some spinning updates with you. I have a little video, some video clips of the spin that I'm about to show you. I'm going to show you some of the in progress process of spinning this yarn. So go take a look at that and I'll show you the yarn when you come back. I thought I would just share a little fiber prep. I am going to spin this hand processed bat from Melly Knits next, and it is a Kumo merino cross, 100 grams with 20% sari silk to give it color. So what Melly does is put a little dab of the fleece before like some of the locks, which is really pretty cool. I love it. So you can see how much the color changed when she put the sari silk in. So what I'm going to do is open this up and divide it by 3 by weight. Oops, I put my finger on the scale. And then I'm going to spin it. So it'll be a nice 3-ply, probably come out to be like a sport or DK weight, which would be great for socks, especially with the 20% silk. So I opened it up. It looks like, I think the best way to divide it is going to be lengthwise. And then I'll have a nice, like the fibers will be most likely be lined up the most by spinning end to end. And, you know, there's not a lot of color variation. Oh, it's divided. So it's in 2 parts. Okay. That's good to know. So yeah, there's not a lot of color variation. So it should just come out to the exactly very similar to what you're seeing, just in yarn form. All right, had to do a little bit of fudging and tear off some pieces to get them right, but they're basically like 34 to 35 grams a piece. So perfect. And I got this tag too, which I didn't realize is for your finished yarn. Pretty cool. All right, so this is the spin. This is from Melly Knits. It is a Kumo merino sari silk blend. And I think, I mean, you just saw the clips of the fiber. I think the fiber did pick up a little color in the soak from the sari. So I do know that sari can bleed in warm water, and I always give my yarn a warm water soak. But this yarn is really, really soft, and I'm probably going to use it for socks because with that silk it should give it a little bit of strength. But yeah, it's really nice. I can't remember how many yards it is. I want to say I did my usual 3-ply. Anyway, that's that. That was a one-off, one skein, all I had, just one. I have to say, like, I love her, do really love her, that's Melly's tag. I do really love her fiber prep. It's super interesting, and labor intensive, and she does it because she loves it, which is really cool. She's a great follow. She's very chatty, very chatty follow on social media, on both Bluesky and Instagram. Mostly I see her on Instagram though. She does those lives and stuff like that. Anyway, it's hard to buy her fiber though because it sells out like hotcakes. So I'm doing another spin that I think currently working on a what I hope will be a sweater's quantity, which should be a sweater's quantity. I'd share a little prep work for my next spin. I'm going to be spinning Bramble Ridge, which is she's a hand dyer in Canada. I bought it last year. Is that right side up? Yeah, my thing isn't focusing the phone. It's untreated Cormo in the colorway Fishbowl, which I still can't tell. Is that focused? Okay. Anyway, 100-gram braids, and I bought 3 of them. So in the spirit of distributing color, because this braid I really noticed is not nearly as saturated as a couple of the other braids, or the other 2 braids. So I've been just stripping, this is 1/3 of one of the other braids, so just stripping the braid into 3 parts and then matching the parts up by weight so that I end up with 3 bobbins that are all pretty much the same length. Yeah, so this will be my next spin. I'll show you, I'll probably show you the finish, at least the finished skein, if not some of the process. I should say too that these are the 3 different, from the 3 different braids. You can see that one's quite a bit paler than the green, isn't as intense there. I'm going to do a fractal spin, which means I'm going to actually take the pale one and spin it end to end. Then one of these other ones will be divided again twice, and then the third one will be divided 3 or 4 times to get like a breakup of the colors. So it should be a pretty nice springy spin. And that is this. This is a 3-ply fractal spin, and this is from Bramble Ridge. I don't think I have the tag. This is what the fiber looks like before. Again, the blues are a little duller than life. That might be closer right there to what they actually are. And then there's this like red that ends up looking more orange in the skein, just by way of, like, the colors get diluted because there are like some pretty nice size white sections, and that serves to like dilute the colors quite a bit. But this green is like an acid neon green. Which I don't really think you're seeing. It looks like a pretty soft green, but it's actually real bright and punchy, and it still comes through on the skein. Anyway, my plan with this, I'm hoping to make the Hay Sailor by Andrea Mowry. The pattern was released last summer. Like towards the end, I remember when it came out thinking, oh no, I'm making winter knits now. But I bought the pattern knowing that I would really want one around this time of year. So I'm actually like, I would love to cast this on right now. But I need to see the yardage. I need to see whether or not I'm going to have enough yardage for this to be the main color, or whether this will just be the contrast color. But I think I should be okay. So I think I only need 700 yards for the main color. And this is a smaller than normal skein, and it's still, I want to say it's 250 yards, but it's only 85 grams, or 260, it might be 260. It's a sport weight. I spin pretty consistently, what my 3 plies end up being sport weight. So yeah, that's what is going on with that. Oh, and I did bring over a bobbin too, so you can see how the bobbin lays out. That's the way it spins. And then in the plying, the colors mismatch because you're doing long stretches and then progressively shorter sections of color with the way you divide the fleece for a fractal spin, and then you end up with some mismatching like you can see here with the colors. And when you do a 3-ply, you get even more like mismatching, so it ends up being pretty blendy. But it may, I think for that Hey Sailor, it's going to be pretty nice. If it's the main color, then the rib border and stuff will be this color. If it's the contrast color, it'll only be here, and then the rib border will be white. But I think this will be more fun to be the rib border. I also need white yarn because I don't have any white for the for what would be the color, or the other color, the second color. So I have to order that. I've pretty much sourced and figured out what white yarn I'm going to use for that. But anyway, that is all I have, aside from, I don't really have a big kitchen update. I don't think I showed you these last time though. I have some samples of what the counter will be. So my countertop will be this. It's a quartz countertop, and it has, quartz is a composite, so, but it's very, very durable. It's more durable than I think the only thing that's more durable than this would be granite, or maybe it's comparable to granite. So, but it is a composite where they can really make different colors, but I really wanted a predominantly white countertop, and the only way to get that is if you do quartz, because granite naturally doesn't come in, I guess you could do marble, but I didn't want to do, marble's kind of fragile in terms of its stains and stuff. So with quartz, if you do get a stain, you can usually clean it up. You can wipe it right up. It won't sink in. With marble, it can sink in and permanently stain the marble down into the layers, and then you have to replace it if you want it to go back. So this one has like a little bit of gentle veining in like gray and gold. I really, really like it. And then going with that is my cabinets. Some of them are going to be the sage green color. Again, the colors are looking a little bit dull. And if you can't tell, I just really love turquoise. So this is like a nice, leaning more towards green turquoise, a nice pale turquoise. So that's how those are going to be. All my cabinets are not going to be this. This is just going to be a couple of them in the mix. The rest of them are going to be white oak, which I don't really have a sample of. It's not exactly that color. It's not exactly that color, but it's actually a little bit deeper and slightly warmer, I would say, than this color. Maybe slightly cooler, actually. So that's all I have for my updates. I am waiting for that designer to do a rendering of the kitchen and figure out a couple tweaks in the cabinets, in the layout of the cabinets. Like, there aren't a lot of drawers, so I asked her to take a shelf lower cabinet and change it into drawers. So she was looking at the availability of that. And what was the other? I had to pick my faucet, and then from the faucet we can do the hardware. So I did that. The microwave. She was able to make a cabinet that is counter level, be the microwave counter, or cabinet. So the microwave will be behind a cabinet door that then you open like a bread box, like this way, like this way. And then there's the microwave, and you can access it that way. So what's good about that is that it is it's basically a countertop microwave, so it's easy to replace it if it breaks, because microwaves don't last all that long these days. Like 5 years, I think, is, if your microwave has lasted longer, yay, good for you. But 5 years is about the lifespan of microwaves. So this way I won't have to, I can easily replace a countertop microwave myself. All I need to do is go to the store and get another one. I don't have to line up some work repairman to come in and deinstall the one that's broken and reinstall one that is fixed. Or, whether it's like any type of built-in, whether it's a drawer one or one that's in, above the counter or whatever. So I don't have to deal with any of that, which makes me real happy. Because as I was doing my research, it seemed to me like microwaves were something that were the least likely. So I've actually had the kitchen designed so that everything is pull out. So like my range is pull out. It's not built in. I didn't do any built in. Except the dishwasher. The dishwasher's built in. But I'm buying a really good brand that has really good longevity. So I don't think it'll be such... And a dishwasher, if your dishwasher breaks, it's okay to go. You can usually go a few weeks with it. Like I don't have a dishwasher that works right now. There's one in my kitchen that's built in and it's broken. So I haven't had a dishwasher that works since Christmas, so it's fine. Like you can manage with no dishwasher for a short period of time, or for any people. Not everyone has a dishwasher. I love having a good dishwasher and I really miss it, but I'll have one again soon. So yeah, that's news on that front. And as I mentioned before, we are going to Maryland Sheep and Wool. I'm going with a handful of friends to down on Friday morning, with enough time to catch Yarn Centric, and we're going to be grabbing dinner at, I believe it's, I have to look it up. I'll make sure it's right on screen, but I believe it's called Walrus Oyster and Ale House in Endicott, Maryland. We'll be there for happy hour / bites dinner on the Friday before Maryland Sheep and Wool. So if you're in the area and you care to drop by, or if you're in the restaurant, and you want to come by, we're going to be knitting and hanging out and, getting food and drinks and having a good time, I hope. And as I said, we'll be at Yarn Centric from 2 to 4 on the Friday. So again, if you're going to be there, please come up and say hi. Don't be shy. Because I don't think I'll be making another video between now and when I go. So my next video, that'll be Knitter's Life, I'll be talking to you about Maryland Sheep and Wool and my experiences there, and sharing some of the footage that I hope to capture of our trip down, and just sharing my experience. It's my very first time ever going to the festival. I've been down in that area, in the Baltimore, DC area many times. It's not that far from here. It's drivable. And I don't have to drive, so I'll be knitting in the car. I'm so excited that my friend Lorian from... you may know her as from Knitting Monologues here on YouTube, or Yarn Love Turtle on Instagram, or Bluesky. She is going to drive. She volunteered to drive, so she'll be driving the group of us. It'll be very fun. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I hope we get good weather. I hope it's not too mucky. I hope I don't have to pack rain boots, but I have a feeling I will. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope everything is going your way. Your knitting is bringing you joy, and that you're having lovely weather wherever you are. And I will talk to you again real soon. Take care. Bye.